Today we're going to be reviewing the absolutely tiny JJRC H20 Hexacopter. The H20 measures just over 4 inches in diameter and is powered by 6 props that measure just over an inch. And just to give you some perspective in terms of size, this is how it compares to a regular AA sized battery. It's an extremely tiny little hex. The H20 pretty much comes ready to go right out of the box. You get the craft itself, a tiny little transmitter, a USB battery charger, the 150 milliamp hour battery, which is replaceable. You can get spares and I would definitely recommend getting spares, and a little plastic bag with a screwdriver and some spare props. Very handy. Now all you'll need to get going is 2 AA size cells for the transmitter. They don't provide that. Now the instruction manual you get with this is written in both English and what appears to be Mandarin. It's absolute garbage. It's extremely poorly written. And just to show you that I'm not being overtly harsh to this manual, or rather to this product, let me read you a phrase, or rather a statement from this manual, just so you get an idea of how bad it is. Okay, and this is the part about the pre-flight check and pre-flight training, or what they seem to call pre-flight proficiency flight simulation, whatever the hell that means. Before you're familiar with the flight vehicle, pleasure, don't set it fly. Read the instruction carefully. Gear familiar with all kinds of direction control and keep repeating until you can play it as you perform your wishes. Number 1, place the flight vehicle a clear open field and the tail of helicopter point to yourself. 2, practice operating the remote control of each rocker, each operation mode of operation as shown, and repeated practice throttle high, low, left, right, front, rear, left, right operation. The simulation flight practice is very important. Please keep practicing until the fingers move naturally when you hear operation orders being called out. Apparently somebody is supposed to call operation orders out to you. I don't know what this means, and I really wish they'd put a little more effort into writing this a little more coherently, and maybe in somewhat correct English. And I know people are going to say it's a product that sells for anywhere between 20 and 25 bucks, but honestly, for people who are beginners and getting into this, a good manual would go a long way to selling your product well and ensuring that you don't have a high rate of returns. So it's kind of pathetic that they put together a very poor manual. The transmitter is a very standard 2.4 gigahertz toy grade transmitter that you'll find on a lot of other nano quads. The sticks are reasonably smooth and usable. I mean, don't expect perfection, but for this price point and for this size, it's extremely small and portable. It's actually a pretty decent transmitter. It does its job, it's tiny, it's easy to carry around, it doesn't weigh a whole lot, and it's just very simple to use, very straightforward, no issues at all. Now setting this little guy up to fly is really easy. Slot the battery into its slot here on the bottom of the hex. Push it all the way in to make sure that you have the correct center of gravity. Now this is a little different from other quads and hexes in terms of the sequence in which you plug things in. You have to plug the aircraft in before you turn the transmitter on. That's very important to remember. Then connect the battery cable into the main board. Now make sure to plug it in the right way. This is keyed and will only go in one way. So I'm going to plug the craft in. There you go. LEDs light up and start flashing, and I'm going to put it flat on a surface and let it initialize. Now do not plug the battery in and hold it in your hand. This is very important. Place it on a flat surface so that the gyros can initialize, and you'll see that slow blinking LED in the back. I'm going to turn the transmitter on and it's going to start beeping and blinking. And what I'm going to do is move the throttle stick all the way up and then back. The green light now stays solid and the hex is now armed and ready to fly. Now considering the price and absolutely tiny size of this little hexacopter, I was expecting it to be extremely unstable and extremely twitchy, much like a lot of nano and micro-sized quadcopters I've tested over the years. However, when I flew it, I was extremely pleasantly surprised. The Hex really made up for all its other flaws. Now it flew extremely smoothly, maintained a very stable hover, and this can be attributed to the 6 motors. I really feel having 6 motors makes it much more stable. It was very responsive even in the low rate mode. It was very agile, it had a lot of power, it could do precise maneuvers maneuvers and very stable pirouettes, as you can see here. In fact, I found it just as stable as hexes and quads that were even more expensive than this. In fact, I'm so impressed with the flying characteristics of this that I'm willing to overlook almost everything else, like the short battery life or the instruction manual and all those things. I'm really willing to overlook this because it flies amazingly well. The H20 is by no means an outdoor craft. It really can't handle the wind all that well, and I wouldn't recommend flying it outside because you might end up losing it to the wind. Try and keep it indoors and you'll have a lot of fun. Now the H20 can also do automatic flips, and in order to do automatic flips, all you need to do is press down on the button on the right hand side, press down on that, and then move the right stick to any direction you want, right or left. And what this will do is it'll instruct the hex to either flip to the right or flip to the left. But you need to do that. You need to give it that input and then it'll go ahead and flip itself. This little hex also has a one-button return to controller feature. Now this is definitely not GPS-based return to home that you see in more expensive quadcopters and hexacopters, but it does its job in the event of emergency and brings the hex closer to you. Works really well. The 150 mAh battery will power the hexacopter for about 4 to 5 minutes, depending on how aggressively you fly it. Now this is pretty impressive considering it has 6 motors and that similarly sized quadcopters also only produce flight times of about 4 to 5 minutes with a similar sized battery. However, I do recommend getting spares. You will want to fly more than 4 minutes, especially once you're learning how to fly, and even after you learn how to fly, you might want to fly for much more than 4 minutes, so make sure to get spares. I'll leave a link to some of the spares in the description below so that you can check that out. So overall thoughts about the JJRC H20? With the H20, you really need to start off at the price. The price is, as I said, anywhere between $20 to $25 on eBay or Amazon. And considering this price, what you get for this price, it's almost ready to go right out of the box except for the 2 AA batteries. It flies extremely smoothly, very smooth flight characteristics, very good flips, very precise maneuvering, and accounting for all those factors, I really recommend this hex. It's a whole lot of fun for kids or even for adults who are starting out flying. Now, if you're learning how to fly multi-rotors, this is definitely one of the craft that you should consider. Now, if you already know how to fly and are kind of restricted by bad weather, like I am in the northeastern United States where it gets really cold, and just want to fly indoors and want something fun to fly indoors in all those extremely cold months, you cannot get any more fun for $20 to $25. I mean, this is the most fun you can buy for that price. And anybody looking at a nano-sized quad or hex should definitely give this one a look. If you found this review useful, please hit that like button and subscribe to stay tuned for more reviews. Thank you very much for watching.